Welcome to Talking IoT, a series of short, enlightening conversations on what's happening across the Internet of Things. I'm your host, Silicon Labs Chief Marketing Officer, Megan Lueders. And here with me today is Bluetooth SIG Senior Director of Market Development, Chuck Sabin, to talk about the latest of the Bluetooth market update. Welcome, Chuck.
Oh, thanks for having me. I appreciate the time.
Absolutely, and I can't wait to dive into this topic. You recently published or released your 2022 market update. It is excellent, and the data that was presented in this report is encouraging. And one of the stats I loved in there is that there will be 7 billion Bluetooth device shipments per year by 2026. And what I was reading was that this is a much faster time frame than what everyone originally predicted. And we're seeing it, we're living that as well. What is causing that? What was the key contributor to that growth?
Yeah, that's a great question. 7 billion annual Bluetooth device shipments by 2026. It's an amazing number, Megan. I honestly, the compound annual growth rate for Bluetooth technology and devices in all categories is close to 10% per year over the next 5 years. And that's for a technology, that's a staggering growth rate that you continue to see through the technology. And I'll be honest with you, the key contributor to this growth is Bluetooth Low Energy, or as many people might say it as Bluetooth LE, as many people might know it. And we were kind of talking about this, a bit here, but like many others, we saw flat growth of Bluetooth devices during the heart of the pandemic, to a level of about 4 billion per year in annual shipments over that period of time. But as the pandemic has eased, growth is now actually recovering at a significant rate. And Bluetooth LE devices is really what is the growth engine behind those numbers. We think of this in terms of those single mode devices. That'll see about a 3x growth over the next 5 years, jumping from about 1.3 billion annual shipments in 2022 to nearly 3 billion annual shipments of these single mode low energy devices by 2026. And it really, when we're talking about IoT here, it really enforces some of the narrative that we've had in the past where Bluetooth LE is really the leading technology in the IoT. Anything from wearables, sensors to peripheral devices, essentially it is the technology that allows things to connect, right? And quite frankly, when we think about the long-term growth engine for Bluetooth, it is still those LE devices, because 72% of Bluetooth enabled devices come 2026 are actually going to be peripheral devices connecting to platforms like phones, tablets, PCs, and other central systems. But it's this ecosystem of devices that are just being connected that is really the growth engine for Bluetooth in the future.
Yeah, and it's interesting to think about, right? This pandemic has really accelerated technology adoption, technology interest, and all around this combination of connected devices to people, to buildings, to homes, to vehicles. It is really just accelerated, and even of how many of us talk on a daily basis through Zoom or Teams, whatever the preferred venue is. It really has been that acceleration going through this really unprecedented period for all of us, which has been fascinating. And I know audio is such a dominant market for Bluetooth technology, and LE audio strengthens it, right? We all talk about that. Other than audio, are you seeing any new Bluetooth market or Bluetooth technology that you're expanding into?
Yeah, of course, and it should be no surprise, you mentioned it, but it should be no surprise that Bluetooth audio and audio streaming, is the largest solution area for Bluetooth. Over 1.4 billion Bluetooth enabled audio products will ship in this year alone, right? And of course, things like wearables, fitness trackers, smartwatches, and so on, those all continue to be dominant areas of growth for Bluetooth. But when you think about areas where Bluetooth technology is actually expanding into, I immediately have to go towards things like location services and device networking capabilities, which are the two of the fastest growing solution areas for Bluetooth. There's more commercial and industrial facilities that are turning to Bluetooth asset tracking and asset management solutions in order to optimize their resources and their inventory control. You're seeing Bluetooth-enabled asset tracking solutions will ship over 128 million Bluetooth-enabled devices in 2022 alone. And while things like retail, is seen as one of the largest implementation opportunities, with over 60% of the current implementations in retail. But if you look at things like hospitals, healthcare, you're seeing a lot of significant growth, and you're seeing that as a significant target because of the need to better manage equipment and supplies, especially in times of the significant stress that we've seen over the last couple of years. So, hospitals, they've actually seen as much as 40 hours per week. This is something that we highlight in the market update, that hospitals have seen as much as 40 hours per week of staff time savings because of the implementation of asset tracking solutions. So people are having to spend less time trying to find equipment, and they're utilizing technology in order to make that happen. And then if you look at device networks, another fast-growing area for Bluetooth, shipments of enabled lighting control and home automation solutions, that'll exceed 1 billion device shipments per year by 2025. So that's becoming another a billion shipment market area for Bluetooth technology, well beyond, what we see even in the audio from a growth perspective.
Yeah, asset tracking, location services, that is something I'm fascinated with how it has changed companies, even from the bottom line perspective, right? Instead of them assuming these assets are lost, they can go recover them, what that has done to replacement and sustainability efforts that companies are enduring. So tons and tons of upside with this technology being adopted and more mainstream than it ever has been. And we'd love to see that. One other area I wanted to probe on, and I'm in the business of marketing, and I always find when you do research studies, you're always surprised by something. What surprised you, or maybe was unexpected when you were conducting this report?
Yeah, I think one of the things that I think surprised a bit, there's actually two things that I probably would point to. First was really how resilient the technology is. Like others, and I mentioned before, growth for Bluetooth technology slowed during the pandemic, because of implementations or slowdowns in supply chains, et cetera. But as we're coming out of this, Bluetooth technology is actually seen as a key technology in support of the recovery. Not only is the technology recovering in areas of traditional growth like audio and consumer devices, but solutions, as I mentioned before, like asset tracking and inventory management, are actually growing faster than we actually expected because of the necessity that came out of what happened during the pandemic. So suddenly, these types of solutions and finding more efficiencies and better management of inventory and your assets actually became even highlighted even more. And so that was one of those things that sort of surprised us, that accelerated growth that we saw. The second thing that we saw in the research that surprised us a bit was just how embedded Bluetooth is in markets with high growth potential, but maybe are seen as strengths for other technology. An example of this is like the smart home as an example. Now, many solutions are rooted in Wi-Fi because most homes have home routers and it's easy for people to understand. However, if you look at the forecasting, if you look at those devices, Bluetooth is actually seen as a stable platform for those devices for commissioning, onboarding, and in many use cases, doing device control for home automation solutions. So when you look at home automation, Bluetooth is actually one of those red thread technologies that go through all of the different devices. So we're actually seeing more growth in home automation with Bluetooth than actually expected, even though other technologies may be taking sort of front and center of those types of solutions. So those are a couple of things that surprised us when we were sort of going through the data and looking and analyzing the research that we have.
Yeah, again, there's always some nuggets and sometimes often large findings too that come of doing these type of studies. And maybe one last question is, who's the right audience for this report? What's a key takeaway that the readers of this report should have in mind?
I think if there's any one thing I like readers to take away from the Bluetooth market update, it's just that it's the incredible diversity of the forecast and the availability of the technology for a variety of use cases that I really want people to take away from this, right? Bluetooth for audio solutions is clearly a key part of Bluetooth's past, present, and future, right? Most people know Bluetooth for audio. But if you look at the technology, features that are supported are continuing to expand in a wide variety of areas. You know, Bluetooth is, I would consider it we're not a one-trick technology, right? It's incredibly diverse. It's used in all kinds of abilities to satisfy all kinds of needs associated with the IoT. So, you know, I love for people to see the information because they can see that diversity that the technology is actually used in, and that helps expand the ideas and the innovation and the thought process of developers to do more than maybe what they think they can do with the technology, right? And so if people are interested in that type of data and those forecasts and so on, they can read through the market update. It's a fascinating set of information about the technology. And you just go to Bluetooth.com, visit the Resource Center, and there is a plethora of information, I should say, in there about how Bluetooth technology is being used and the forecasts associated with it over the next 5 years.
I love it. I love it. Lots of use cases. And I do think at the end of the day, developers are looking for what can they read or learn about that could stimulate how that could be applied to their environment. And I know when I read through this market update, it certainly got the wheel spinning in my head. So Chuck, thank you again for visiting with us today, sharing some of these insights on the Bluetooth market update. Appreciate your time. And for those of you who would like more information about Silicon Labs Bluetooth solutions, please visit our website at silabs.com/wireless/Bluetooth. Thanks again, Chuck. I appreciate your time.
No, thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it.